If you've been following the news recently, you'll have seen reports that ministers have been complaining that their departments are not fit for purpose. We're looking at budget overruns, project delays, and general failures to deliver what's been required. This is not something new. This has been happening for at least a dozen years, if not longer, and goes to the heart of why any government, whether they're left, centre or right, are going to find it almost impossible to fix the things that are wrong with the UK. So what exactly is going on with the civil service and how did we get there? Well, first of all, we have to go back to the government of Gordon Brown, and in an attempt to professionalise the civil service, he decided to detach it from ministerial control. He wanted to make the civil service a professional organisation that wasn't subject to the whims of ministers, and so the civil service reported directly to the Prime Minister. However, when they created that policy, that legislation, they didn't include a mechanism for the Prime Minister to delegate authority to ministers. So you then had a number of years where when ministers were finding themselves getting frustrated because things were happening and tried to make things happen, the civil service would just put a claim of bullying in, and various ministers got hauled over in front of the HR committee and told off. And of course, the things they wanted to happen still didn't happen, because the only way to make them happen is to go to the Prime Minister and say, "Excuse me, Prime Minister, my civil servants aren't doing what they're told. Can you please tell them, please?" And rather like a child going to speak to a parent, getting the parent to tell the other children to behave, well, the ministers don't like doing it because it shows weakness, and it probably means you're not going to be around very long. And as a result, things stopped happening. In 2022, Lord Maude was asked to look into the civil service to find out what's going on. And a year later, he produced a report on the governance and accountability of the civil service. And he found a dysfunctional culture, one where the civil service thought of itself as being above ministers, not below them. As it was put, ministers come, ministers go, the civil service is permanent. It's been around for 150 years and it'll be around for 150 years more. For instances of ministers setting a policy with civil servants, then after the meeting, senior civil servants who are in the meeting issuing countermanding orders to make sure that whatever the policy was that had been agreed didn't happen. So how do we end up with such a democratic deficit? Well, Gordon Brown didn't help with his detaching ministerial control from their departments. But more than that, we have got a senior civil service that is homogenous and has largely never worked anywhere else other than the civil service. They don't really know what a functioning, performing organisation looks like. So they don't really understand just how bad a job they're doing. The other thing is, there is zero accountability. It does not matter how much is overspent, how much delay happens in projects, how many projects fail. No one, and I mean no one in the civil service, is called to account. Failure simply results in another promotion to another department. Indeed, according to the Times, currently there are £200 billion worth of projects flagged as at risk in the government, i.e. that they are either going to go seriously over budget or not get delivered at all. And not a single civil servant is being held accountable. And you find that you have a culture whereby you have a homogenous set of civil servants, because when you hire for people like you. Now, this is not some conspiracy whereby certain forces are attempting to take over the civil service, but if there's no accountability, if there are no consequence of failure, then people who are failing carry on in post. And they're going to hire people like them, who think like they do, who share the same values, and who aren't going to rock the apple cart. As a result, you get a civil service which looks more and more like itself, and it gets harder and harder to reform. One quick thing, Harley here, say hello Harley, has a quick request. Would you mind hitting the like button and maybe subscribing? Most people who watch these videos don't, and it really, really helps. Okay, that's it, back to the video. If we look at the numbers In 2016, there were approximately 416,000 civil servants in the UK. And just 9 years later, 2025, that number had risen to well over 500,000, a 32% increase. And not only did we end up with a lot more civil servants producing less and performing worse, the proportion of those civil servants who are senior grade or above rose from an already whopping 60% to 75%. What that means is more and more decision makers not making decisions, passing the buck to each other, not being accountable for anything, and fewer doers relative to that senior management class. It's no wonder the civil service is in chaos and nothing can get done. So, although we're still a fair way away from the next general election, look carefully at what any particular party has in its manifesto. Unless it includes really substantial, meaningful reform of the civil service, anything else in its manifesto doesn't matter, because they won't be able to deliver it. On that note, ta-da!